can
else,
discuss it
so-
during the meeting, we'll see what people think, but yeah. I'd like to call the regular meeting in the New Ulm City Council for April 17th, 2018, 4:30 PM to order. Before we go into the council agenda, I'd like to have Chris Dalton please come up here. I'd like to introduce him to the public out there so everybody can see who he is and just, I don't know if he wants to say anything, but the reason, just so the people do know it, that we've had these last snowfalls, I was informed that it was to welcome Chris here, because he has come from California, and I don't know if he's seen that much snow, so every interview he attended, it snowed, and we had a blizzard, so welcome aboard.
No, thank you. I'm happy to be here, happy to be part of the city, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone here and working with the community. I have nothing but good things to say about the community. Every interaction that I've had with the community has been pleasant so far. My car died while I was looking for a house, and I was able to knock on someone's door, and they came out and helped me jump my car. And in Southern California, that would not be the instance, so it was a pleasant surprise.
So what do you think of our Minnesota blizzards?
Not bad. It is nice.
Oh, we need to talk.
Yeah, and I come from a place that's always sunny and there's never a change in the weather. So having any type of climate change is kind of a warm welcome. Talk to me again when it's negative outside.
Yeah.
Probably be a different story, but right now, temperature-wise, has been fine. And a little bit of snow, not going to kill me.
So you haven't booked a flight back yet?
No.
All right.
All right. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Does everybody have met him on the city council?
Nope. He has
Okay.
best for last.
No,
And Larry hasn't.
I haven't.
Okay, step up again. We'll just go right around. Everybody can introduce themselves, and then that way, at least we know. who-
official.
Yep, it's official. Steve?
I met Chris. I'm
Okay.
Steve Kaler, city engineer. Hi, Chris.
Les Schultz, Ward 1. Ward 3.
Yeah.
I think I'm first place. What ward am I?
Dave Christian, Ward 1. City Council.
Are you sure?
Roger Hippert, I'm the city attorney. I'm told we have to compare cars sometimes.
Yes.
Bob Weissman, Mayor.
Charlie Schmitz, council president.
Ryan Grumman, city manager.
Nicole Jorgensen, finance director.
Larry Mack, Ward 4.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
All right, now we'll get down to business here. First item on the agenda is your consent agenda items. What's your wishes?
I'll offer a motion to approve those.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion on any? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 2A, consider a motion approving the fireworks license for American Promotional Events Incorporated, TNT Fireworks Incorporated.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve it, and that's from June 20th to July 5th. No more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 2B, consider a motion approving the issuance of a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the Lind House Association, and that's for Saturday, May 11th, 2018.
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 2C, consider a motion approving the issuance of a temporary on-sale intoxicating liquor license for the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame, and that is for May 19th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in
This is
favor
something
say-
different,
go ahead.
right? This is something different to be held at the Star Keller at the August Shell Brewing Company at North Garden Street on May 19th. So something different, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 3A, from the New Ulm Safety Commission recommending support for installing longitude and diagonal markings for 15 crosswalk locations. Let's go there. As presented by Cindy Winters, project manager, Hard New Ulm. Cindy?
Cindy Winters, Hardin New Ulm Project Manager, and I'm here representing the Safe Routes to School Action Team. In the Safe Routes to School plan, it is recommended that the crosswalks in the school zones be painted with an enhanced crosswalk painting, either diagonal or longitudinal, because they are seen at a farther distance, and it does enhance or increase the yielding of motorists. So the schools, administrators, and the school resource officer looked at all the intersections, and the map that you have in front of you was a recommendation for 15 sites, 15 crosswalks to be painted with those enhanced crosswalk paintings. And these are locations for all of the schools. So some of them just impact the school that they're by, and then the other ones are for all of the school locations across New Ulm. And each school was given a map and asked to pick their priority locations. So the ones in the blue are the ones that that were recommended and moved forward from the Safety Commission. There are 2 orange ones on your map, and those were the ones that St. Paul's Elementary School would that was their secondary choice of locations to have painted.
So Cindy, can you bring us back to which ones you're recommending?
So the ones that are in the blue on your map and then on your individual map, so at 10th South Street and South Payne Street, this is for most of the elementary schools and the public middle school.
I don't think, Cindy, we really have blue.
Yeah, right there.
I think we have black and white.
Oh, you have black and white, okay.
So if you could point them out,
Oh,
make sure that we.
I've got blue.
I got blue.
Right there.
You got a blue dot.
Yep, that's it.
All right.
Sorry.
Make sure we have the right.
It's the blue dots.
Okay.
So if you're on the 10th Street and South Payne Street, so the recommended crosswalk painting is on the west side on South 10th Street. And then at the high school crossing, across Oak Street, across North Highland Street on the south side is the recommended crossing. And then for all the schools, the crosswalk across Center Street at South Garden Street. So each leg of the crossing, and then also a crossing across South Garden Street so that kids can cross there as well. And this is also for adults. It's not just for the kids, but it also helps the adults in the community as well be able to cross at intersections. Which
Cindy,
ones?
what is that Center and Garden now? Don't we have crosswalks
So-
there now?
Yes, but they're not the enhanced crossings.
Okay.
And there's improved yielding when there's more paint and you can see them farther away. So right now, you can't really see the crosswalks until you're almost right on top of them. And that's why it was recommended in the Safe Routes to School plan that they be enhanced with more paint, with either diagonal or longitudinal paint.
Cindy, I have one question.
Yeah.
I caught you said that, it doesn't say it on my action sheet here. These are the first 15, and you let the schools do their priority. Are they going to be coming?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say first. These are the 15
Okay.
that were
You
approved.
said priority, not that they'll be back asking for
No,
another 15.
there were 2 more that St. Paul's requested, and the Safety Commission approved 15. We brought 17 in front of the Safety Commission, and they approved 15 of them. So I'm sorry if I misspoke on that one.
So it's just the 2 down by St. Paul's that were marked in,
The ones in blue, so the one across. Sorry. So the ones that are across Payne Street on the north side of Payne, and then the one on the west side of Payne are the ones that are used the most by the kids from St. Paul's. And that was their priorities.
But I guess my thinking is if Kurt is in the area and he's doing two more, isn't gonna take that much more to, and then we got that whole intersection done.
Okay.
That would
That's
be
up to
my
you.
opinion, laws were in there.
The question my next question was on the cost. The estimated cost was $70 on each mark. I'm assuming that is the paint and the labor. The labor's already our city staff. They're already working that day and the paint? Or are we getting the paint special from a grant, or do you not know?
That I do
That's a
not.
Kurt question?
That's a Kurt
Okay.
question, yes.
Kurt question? Do you have an answer for that?
So if I heard right, you're asking if I applied for a grant?
Yeah, is there a grant for this paint, or, so the $70 per marking is the paint, your estimated cost for the paint and the labor for
Yep.
this?
That's correct.
Okay, but you're not hiring new staff, this is your staff, and then the cost for the paint.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I
do
just
ha-
want to make sure.
I have one question for the street commissioner. On the average, Kurt, how many years go between before we keep redoing them, our crosswalks and?
Every year,
Every year?
every year.
Okay.
Just for your information, I had Mary pull some data. In 2014, we logged 372 hours of painting, total striping, crosswalks, bike, everything that we paint
The bike too? The
in
bike.
2014. In 2017, we logged 1,138 hours. So, just for your information,
So that would include the bike stuff that?
that's
year
everything
too?
we painted.
Everything you paint, okay. All right.
Yep.
Do you have any more questions for me? One reason that enhancing the crosswalks was included in the plan is because that is one of the barriers that was identified through the parent survey, is the uncontrolled intersections.
Well, I know our safety committee took a look at this, and this has to do with a lot of safety of our children and our pedestrians, so I'm going to offer the resolution, waive the reading, authorizing this install. I think our president has it pretty well designed. If it's 2 extra, it's not going to be that much additional, so I'm going to authorize all 17 designated crosswalk locations.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just an item, I mean, I realize what the street commissioner provided us with, where these costs are going up, 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 up. It's like they've almost went up 200% since 14. It's just another item at budget time. Just so everybody the heads up, we're not talking about $1,000 here. We're gonna start talking about $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more in the budget with all the extra painting.
Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Oh, it's a resolution.
Resolution.
Oh, that's a resolution. Finance director, in other words, we had a,
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Schultz,
Yes.
Counselor Christian,
Yes?
President Schmitz.
yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Item 3B, from the Safety Commission, recommended installation of W11-15 vehicular traffic warning signs at 18 South and a culvert crossing west of State Street. Tom, go for it.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. President Schmitz and councilors, you have before you a request to install 2 vehicular traffic warning signs, one east facing and one west facing on 18th South in the South Park area. You see in the 2 photos what we're talking about. The narrowed section of 18th South has a box culvert underneath it. Some people refer to that as South Park Creek. Flows into the Cottonwood River downstream at Junior Pioneer Park. And due to increased activity in South Park with the renovated disc golf course, the renovated neighborhood ball field for softball and baseball, and the replaced playground, and the clearing of buckthorn, we see a significant more amount of use in South Park and people traversing what we might call from the west side to the east side. the ball field playground side to the more open western side of the park. So we're requesting to alert vehicle traffic to pedestrians and bicyclists in that narrowed section of 18 South above the creek.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody have any concerns, questions?
How I read this, cost is $250, and it's in the street department budget, so I'll go ahead and offer the resolution.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Item 4A, 1 and 2. Consider ordinance amending section 8.21 of the city code, the city of New Ulm, relative to dog and cat, I don't know what that is, regulations and licensings. Second reading of ordinance number 18-024, fifth series, and a motion adopting ordinance number 18-24, fifth series.
Going to do the second reading?
We're
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
nice to them.
It's not that big, right?
No, it's not.
All right.
Ordinance number 18-024, fifth series, City of New Ulm, Brown County, Minnesota. An ordinance amending section 8.21, subdivision 1 of the city code of the City of New Ulm relative to dog and cat regulation and licensing. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of New Ulm. Section 1, that section 8.21, subdivision 1 of the city code of the City of New Ulm is hereby amended to read as follows. Section 8.21, dog and cat regulation licensing. Subdivision 1, running at large prohibited. It is unlawful for any person who is the owner or the person in possession or control of a dog or cat to permit such dog or cat to run at large, except in areas designated by the city as a dog park. Dogs or cats must be on a leash when on public rights-of-way or public property. Section 2, that this ordinance shall take effect and shall be in force 30 days from and after its adoption, approval, and publication.
Thank you.
With that being said, put it to rest. I'll motion to adopt ordinance number 18-024, fifth series, amending section 821 of the city code of the City of New Ulm relative to dog and cat regulation and licensing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4B, consider motion authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Bolton and Mink Incorporated to prepare specifications and plans for the Herman Heights Park Hillside Stabilization Project adjacent to Center Street. Tom?
Tom Schmitz and Ryan Wire from the Park and Recreation Department, City Council President and Councilors. This is a request from our department to authorize us to hire Bolton and Mink to prepare plans and specifications for the retaining wall section of Herman Heights Park along Center Street. This project has been on our to-do list for quite a number of years. It's gone through the Park and Recreation Commission. They recommend you move forward with hiring Bolton and Mink for preparing simply the first step of preparing plans and specifications. We'll be coming back with those plans and specifications for your approval in order to bid the project out and then ultimately, hopefully, award the project later this year. We have $200,000 in this year's budget for the project, and it's about $21,500 to hire Bolton and Mink to do the design. As you see in the photos, the Kasota Stone limestone is a constant maintenance concern and safety concern. Our groundskeepers have a real challenge mowing those terraces. Every time it rains, especially in the spring or any heavy rain, we have blowouts, as you can see in the attached photos. And our recommendation is to simply slope it like the Fifth North Diocese Hill, so it can be more cost effectively maintained. We will have to probably, and that'll play out through the design process, create a small retaining wall on the south side of the restroom building. I'm certain that we will have safety railings on the top of that too. So that's a little overview, and as I've mentioned, Ryan is here if you have any more specific questions on where we're at now, but this is just to get the ball rolling on design, and we will come back to you with a proposed design in the next couple of months.
Mr. President, I got a couple of questions and
Go ahead.
comment if I could. I certainly and absolutely believe, being somebody who lives up on the hill and drives by that every single day or multiple times per day, know that that area needs some work and has for many years. It's certainly a hazard. I'm not, and ever since we got this packet and it came out Friday, I've been talking to people and about what the city's plan was, and I have yet to have one person like the plan that the city has presented of just curving it and turning it back into grass and making it a kind of a steep hill. Everybody I've talked to said, make it look like the other side. Make it look uniform. Make it look decent. Put plants on both sides. And I'd like to know, is that an option? Have we looked at that, and why haven't we looked at that? Is that an option? Can we do that?
President Schmitz and councilors, there's certainly many options out there. Under the primary issues and alternatives to consider, item number 3 does state that replacing the degraded limestone block with new manufactured blocks is possible, but will be significantly more costly. And we haven't priced out that in detail, but it will be significantly more costly than simply sloping it.
So, well, I did talk to one of the folks in town that's got a business that can do that kind of work. And I just asked the question, I said, do you need a design concept? Or if we were to just bid that out, could you make that look like that side? And he said, yeah, we can do that. We don't need $20,000 to spec that out. We can just do that. And so I'm like, okay, that's a $20,000 savings. And can they do that? I don't know. I don't know what our rules are citywide, but and he even actually gave me an estimate to that project cost, and how much of what this $200,000 for this project, is that for just replacing that retaining wall? Is that just that project, or is part of it that our Renew project and getting it ready for that too?
The $200,000 in this year's budget is to take care of that slope area. And at this point, staff's recommended plan from the department is to remove the retaining wall and eliminate as much retaining wall as possible.
Okay.
So that would include design and construction administration and permitting.
Because the guesstimate budget from that individual was a lot less than that, Now, and this person was aware, yeah, those trees are probably in trouble either way. There's one that's half dead that's probably shouldn't stay anyway. And maybe I'm kind of Johnny-come-lately to this, and I don't know if I have support from my fellow counselors, but I just think that it would, when you do put bushes and plants in there, like the other side, you do have every year you're going to have to go in and pull out weeds and thistles that are growing up in there, but it's a one-time thing and it's done. When you're going to have that slanted grass, you're still going to be mowing at an angle. You're still going to have, I'm nervous about that being a safety avenue for kids would they slide down that and then slide into the street in the wintertime? I'm nervous about that. I don't like that lawn mowing at a severe angle like that. I think would we save some money if we're not mowing at that angle in that area in the summertime. I just want to make sure that we're really thinking about this, because this is a permanent move and it's going up a very nice area in our community, going up to the Herman landmark, which is going to be totally redone in the next year or so. I would like to see us take a second look and put it out for bids, as well as looking at, to see what it would cost to come in a block and make it look like the other side. I don't know what my colleagues think, but
Mr. President.
my 2 cents.
Yes.
A typical process like this would be to hire the engineering firm to prepare the options that you would like to see in the project. So you could say, here's my cost estimate for retaining wall modern block system, and here's my project cost for just sloping. So that would give you options. Anything over $100,000 is required to be sealed bid by the state of Minnesota. And so what we've been working with, I believe at this point in time, is a preliminary engineering concept, is it's going to be exceeding $100,000. So in order to bid those out, we need to have some plans and some specifications, so everybody's bidding the same project.
Oh, sure, absolutely,
And
make
so,
it fair.
I guess if the city council is interested in one, doing something with this wall, and if the answer is yes,
Yes.
then I guess I'd just direct staff through a motion to work with our engineer to put together some options from sloped grass area to matching the other side visually, and see what they come up with for prices. We'll then have plans and specs and estimate of prices. At what time, or at that time, you then can decide which project you want to pursue, and that's the one you bid out. And then we'll know.
Can you bid both projects at the same time, same design? I would assume you
You
probably
can if
could,
you want
right?
to, sure. But if after you look at it and you say, well, geez, the retaining wall is gonna cost, $50,000 more than the slope, then you like the retaining wall, then there's really no reason to look at the retaining, or
Yeah,
the
or
the
it's
slope.
only X amount more to put a retaining wall so it matches beautifully and
Yeah.
it's nice and.
Yeah,
Or-
I get Counselor Schultz's on the matches beautifully and whatnot. I remember this at budget time. I just wanted to guarantee this better come in under $200,000. Not that we do one of those stints again where we budgeted 200, we need 280, we need 300. I remember the discussion that this was the cheaper way. I had not heard that about the retaining wall is better, even though I am for making it look like MLC side. In fact, I think I remember, didn't one of our past engineers actually help MLC in that project with the design? Owen Todd did.
Mr. President, our engineering staff worked with a consultant, OSM
Right.
Engineering, but Mr. Todd was part of the process, yes. We did that.
I guess
design,
I'd
yeah.
support it. I think too, we got Herman Heights up there, and that's one of the things Noam is noted for. And when you drive up Center Street, it would look nice to have both sides the same and everything uniform, I think. It doesn't cost us any more money probably, or to go out and get the quotes and decide what
See
it's
what
gonna
it
cost.
Yeah.
Right now, we're all guessing.
I would support having a option A or an option B, and look at it at that aspect, so.
This particular individual said he would spruce it up with more colorful, perennial type flowers than what's on the other side. He said he could make it look a lot nicer, but just his comments. But maybe he can't either. Once he gets down to the pencil and paper,
Yeah.
it might be a lot more expensive than he thinks.
There
but
could be a lot of dirt to move and stuff, and it gets
Yeah.
costly.
When I talked to him, he
When you get
happened to
plans,
be.
you won't know.
When I happened to call him, he happened to be right there, so he just pulled over and looked at it, and he's like, I think so. But then again, when he gets down to pencil and paper, it might be a whole different story.
Yep. And then that's why we historically just go through that plans and specifications and review of our options before we make a final decision. Because it might be that it's 400,000 for block and it's 200,000 for sloping. I don't know that. I've not had any conversation with engineers, but that's the role that they play.
And I understand that, the Park and Rec Commission was only given this one option, but I really believe if they'd have been given the option that, secondary estimate, let's get one for a retaining wall, I don't think they'd have an issue with it.
Okay with that?
I don't.
Mr. President, just so staff has clear direction, Do you want us to go back to Bolton and Mink and have them rework their proposal to deliver plans and specs for both options, or you just want a preliminary estimate on the two options before you decide to move ahead with the
I
plans
would
and
say a preliminary
specifications?
estimate would be sufficient.
Preliminary estimate, okay.
That work?
Yeah, do that.
Then I'll offer that as a motion. Thank you for considering that. I appreciate that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4C, receive previously open bids and consider awarding the bid contract for the 2018 MSAS Improvement Project. Mr. Kaler.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Staff opened bids on the 2018 MSAS project, which is North German Street from 3rd to 7th North. It kind of ties into the State Gateway project to some extent. We got some utility crossings there. We opened and received one bid from our local contractor, M&R Paving, at $1.163 million and some change, which was under the engineer's estimate. I gotta find that.
11 point.
About almost a little over 11%, or 147,000. So we are recommending that the contract be awarded. This particular firm has done several quality projects for the city, and the engineering estimate was a little high. So it's favorable to the city in our estimation.
Given the engineer's report, I'll motion to award a contract for the 2018 MSAS Improvement Project, M&R Paving Excavating Incorporated, in the amount of $1,163,403.28.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5A, consider a motion to receive and order filed the 2017 Survey of Public Services and Performance Measurements Report. Mr. Grummins.
As you have seen in your packet, we're in our 7th year of collecting citizen survey data. 6 years of a couple of the categories that we started in year 2 as compared to year 1. Again, we're all the categories are in the 3, 4, or 5 score range. Lowest is condition of city streets at 3.64. So not a lot has changed. It's well within, probably deviation from one year to another. We had about 10% fewer return surveys this year, which also resulted in, the average age of the returner is slightly younger than last year. So it moves around a little bit, but there's nothing that is substantially glaring that is different from prior years. With that, we would then send this off to the state of Minnesota and to abide by their rules on the program, and at a later date we would adopt the resolution, I believe, to continue on doing this for next year at a later date. Any questions on the report itself?
No, I think, Mr. President, I was pleasantly surprised again this year that I think our fire department always gets the highest grades, and our streets get thumbs down sometimes. But really, with the thumbs down, they're really actually higher than average. They're still pretty good. So I mean, I want to thank the public for submitting these back to us every year. And what I noticed, and I took out of this, being the NewCat chair, is the NewCat was always number 2 and always of the lowest grades, and actually took a nice jump this time around and took a little climb, which for me, that was nice to see, because I know the NewCat folks have been working hard at improving the quality of their services, and with the high definition televisions coming and the services that they're providing, I think that should continue to climb in the next couple of years. So I was very pleasantly surprised. The negative I have with this is, like, every third complaint that people had to complain about our utility services, and our utility rates and sitting as city councilors, we pass that over to the Public Utilities Commission and give that information, and we hear it, we understand it, and it's tough for us because the Utilities Commission that's their issue, and they need to continually work on that and address that. And if you took those complaints out of that data, there's not a lot of other complaints with the other quality of data or services that the city provides. And I don't know if next year, would it make more sense to split those surveys, or are we even allowed to do that, to have just city services and then the PUC services? Is that an option, Brian? Or do we have to combine them? Because a lot of people do think that we have the sole authority over the utilities, and we don't.
Yeah,
Something to think about this year.
The gas and the electric are included in our report in the format that the state sent us. The state had water and sewer included in it because most cities have their own water and sewer, but most cities don't have gas or electric. And so, because
Right.
we also wanted to have them included in the survey, we included them. I don't know.
Something to think about, maybe.
Yeah, we can give that some thought as to how we might, separate it out. But I think it's part of the city. And if you notice that the finance department actually dropped down, and there were comments made about the finance department, in a negative fashion. But I think that was representative of the higher interest rates, or the higher.
And these bills went out the same time as the January bills,
Yeah.
when the gas rate was.
Yeah, the gas
historically
rates
high.
and the actual commodity price itself. I don't think they're necessarily saying that our finance department is doing a lesser or poorer job. It's just that when the bill is high, they don't. And that's blaming the messenger.
Separate questions about the rates versus our level of service than.
Yeah,
just
yeah. So
finance.
there might be some ways we could sort those two things out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can look at it. The other thing I'll just kind of point out is that the additional information besides the actual survey that's put in here, the performance measurement stuff, the police department has their Part 1 crime statistics, and Part 2, DUI, liquor laws, speed of a response time, for both the fire department and the police department for their incidents that they respond to. So there's our report, that the staff's report to the city council is probably 3 times larger than what the state actually requires. We basically said, it's one thing to see what the citizens are saying about the community, but it's another one to see the statistics. How are we doing for crime rates? How are we doing for speed of response? Are we having problems with testing our water? That sort of thing. So that's in addition to. So I think it's a fairly easily read survey.
Yep.
It can be used. I know some cities said they weren't necessarily interested in doing the simple version because they'd rather get into 20 pages of questions. And I'm going, I think the citizens would rather fill out one piece of paper and send it in. At least we got something that we can utilize when we look at our budgets. And that's where the PUC will take this information also, and they'll look at the comments as well as the performance, and look at how much money they should spend in this area or that area. So it is a useful tool, and right at this point, it's not costing us anything to do it.
Right.
Because we do get refunded about $1,800 from the state of Minnesota to have this done.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Do we have a motion on this? Probably
Not yet.
Not yet. I'll offer a motion to receive and order filed the survey.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5B, consider a resolution to accept donations offered to the City Park and Rec Department for identified purpose.
At the last Park and Rec Commission meeting, they were actually complimented. I wish they could do this every month, raise that kind of money in donations for the park department. With that, I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading, to accept the following cash donations to the city of Newell for the Park and Rec Department, and granted, you want them read into the minutes?
Yes.
I knew you'd say that.
As long as you're at it.
I think they always should be read in.
Day of play events, $100
Read
from
them in.
Day of play events, $100 from Neibauer Family Chiropractic, $100 from Jensen Motors, $250 from Minnesota Valley Testing Labs, $100 from American Family Insurance, Brian McCabe Agency, $100 from Huffman Construction, $250 from Citizens Bank, $100 from Irrichan Construction and Developing LLC, $250 from State Farm Bob Webb Agency, $500 from Alliance Bank, $100 from DA Truck Lines, $100 from Nosbush Glass, $250 from Boco Real Estate Incorporated, $250 from Quick Trip Incorporated, $100 from Don Sanderson Insurance Agency, $100 from Nierengarten Hippert Ltd., Attorneys at Law, $100 from Coles Wheelberg Chevrolet, $100 from SS Motors, $250 from Bank Midwest, $250 from New Ulm Area Chamber of Commerce, $500 from McDonald's, $25 from South Point Financial Credit Union, $500 from the Physicians Group of New Ulm, $500 from Mike's Collision and Tire Center, $1,200 from Alina Health and New Ulm Medical Center, and $250 from New Ulm Telecom. For the Family Fitness Fun Days at the Recreation Center in 2018, $800 from the Physicians Group of New Ulm, $800 from Alina Health, New Ulm Medical Center, new targets for instructional archery, $500 from the Sioux Trails chapter of the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, German Park Paver Stone and Improvements, $100 honoring Harry and Dorothy Christian from Dorothy Christian, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, all 29 letters will be emailed before I go home tomorrow.
Make sure.
That's
Okay.
$8,000, what did I read? $8,525 in total cash donations, so very nice.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to offer resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion?
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Never had a
Did?
resolution.
All right.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Dave
did.
offered the
I did.
resolution.
Sorry.
All right. Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. In case it would snow tomorrow, you could actually start it tonight, Mayor. Thank you. Item 5C, first reading of ordinance number 18-025, fifth series, enacting section 8.7 of the city code, the city of New Ulm, relative to private residential swimming pools. Mr. Hippert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if you want any background on the reasons behind this ordinance that's
Yes.
coming
Yes.
before you.
I was wondering.
We've got a lot to consider in the agenda. I'd ask Elwood Zabel to step in and contribute to this. He and I have been working on this for a long time. I think what prompted it is there were at least some complaints last summer about outdoor swimming pools that were not fenced, not attended, and there's concerns about small children, particularly infants, who might get into them and drown. And most communities have got an ordinance that would address safety requirements for outdoor pools. He and I spent a lot of time. He found a lot of different cities have some very different provisions. We went through what other cities have done. We tried to pull out the provisions that we thought made the most sense for what we were trying to accomplish, which was to ensure that there would be some safety if people are going to have these pools, and also to deal with some of the zoning issues relating to where they would be located. These are things that might be addressed at such time as you'd consider revising the zoning code, but for the time being, we think that this is a safety matter that you should be considering. And with the timing of it and when it would be enacted, if you decide to pass the ordinance, the sooner the better, if and when we ever get swimming pools back up in New Ulm. So, Elwood, is there anything you want to contribute to?
I think you covered it pretty well. It's, in the ordinance now, it doesn't, it just says that a private residential swimming pool is allowed as an accessory structure in the R districts. Just says it needs to have a 5-foot fence around it. So that would include everything from the little plastic pool up to a big in-ground pool. So that's what we're looking at, is limiting what type of pools get fenced around and what the criteria that is for.
How many do you think are in violation right now, a guesstimate,
Well, all of them are in
The way
violation,
they're-
the way it's written.
the way it's written?
Correct.
Oh, wow, okay.
This just spells out what is gonna be allowed. Like you say, every little wading pool is a violation now, so this would
Correct.
just say
Yep.
that.
Yep.
You're allowed to have this.
We came up with 24 inches and the capacity as being what a lot of communities have adopted, considering the danger level and the height of a child. We thought that if it was less than 24 inches, it's probably not going to be a hazard, understanding, of course, it could be, but just not as severe a hazard.
Right,
So-
the definition for what a pool is 24 inches in the building code is where the criteria of that came from. And so the way it's written here, it has to exceed both the 24 inches and the 5,000 gallons capacity to put it into that area that would need to be fenced around.
Okay.
So if you'd like,
Okay.
I'll
Go for
proceed with the reading. All right. Ordinance number 18-025, fifth series, City of Des Moines, Brown County, Minnesota. An ordinance adding section 8.70 to the city code of the City of Des Moines relative to private residential swimming pools. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Des Moines, Section 1. The Chapter 8 of the City Code of the City of Des Moines is hereby amended by adding the following subdivision, Section 8.70, private residential swimming pools. Subdivision 1, definitions. For purposes of this section, the following terms have the following meanings. A, private residential swimming pool means any outdoor structure intended for swimming or wading located on private residential property that exceeds both of the following: a depth capacity of more than 24 inches at any point, a total volume in excess of 5,000 gallons. The swimming pool may be constructed, installed, or located in-ground, partially in-ground, or above ground, and may include permanent or temporary swimming pools. Subdivision 2, general pool requirements. Private residential swimming pools and any attached or functionally related deck shall comply with the required yard setbacks for the relevant zoning district. No such pool should be located within a drainage or utility easement area. Private residential swimming pools must be located in the rear yard. Any work required for the installation or operation of a private residential swimming pool involving modifications to an electrical system, adding circuits or equipment that requires electrical work, requires that an electrical permit be issued. Subdivision 3, permit requirements. Building permits are required for all above-ground or in-ground private residential swimming pools as defined above. Each application for a permit to construct or erect a private residential swimming pool shall include the following information. Number 1, a site plan drawing indicating location of pool, house, accessory structures, decks, and/or patios associated with the pool and proximity of pool to the property lot lines. Number 2, size and depth of the pool. Number 3, size, type, and location of all equipment to be used in connection with the pool, including but not limited to heater, filter unit, and pump. Number 4, fence height, type, and location to property lines. Subdivision 4, fence requirements. All private residential swimming pools shall be completely enclosed within a fence at least 5 feet in height. Chain link fencing must not exceed 2-inch mesh unless vertical slats are installed that prevent climbing. Wooden fences with boards placed vertically shall not have any opening wider than 4 inches per opening, and wooden fences with boards placed horizontally shall not have any opening wider than 1 inch per opening. To the extent it is applicable, fences must comply with the provisions of Section 9.14, Subdivision 6 of this code. All fences must be installed 4 inches or less from the surface of the ground. All gates or doors opening through the enclosure must be equipped with a self-latching mechanism of a type to accept a lock and which must keep the door or gate securely closed at all times. Pool gates must be locked when the pool is not in use. Section 2, the ordinance would take effect and would be enforced 30 days from and after its adoption, approval, and publication.
So can I ask a question here? So if we have if you have a 3-foot blow-up pool you buy from Menards, you need a permit and a fence.
If it's going to be 3 feet in depth, yes.
Wow.
And 5,000 gallons.
and 5,000 gallons.
Well, that's what's the question.
And Elwood, the diameter for 5,000 gallons, depending upon the height, I think you had some statistics on that.
No, over
Yeah, I
here.
believe, when we looked at,
There it is. Okay, I was looking for the
I
old.
believe it was 33 inches tall, about a 16-foot round diameter, is about just shy of 5,000 gallons.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So it would
that-
include those pools in smaller configurations would be out of the definition.
Good. I like the, or I shouldn't say like, but the 5,000 gallons, I was a little worried about those little tiny kiddie pools, but with the 5,000 gallons, we'd have a lot of grandparents stomping at City Hall, but.
But that issue is what was driving this
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
problem
Right.
of defining what is a pool, what
Yeah,
isn't
I
a
agree,
pool.
I agree. Yeah.
The little wading pools probably aren't 24 inches high either.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No more questions? Okay, thank you, Roger. We'll go on to item 5D, consider motion to approve the 2019 budget calendar and set dates for budget work sessions. We have on there just, for your information, the 19th of June, I won't be here. That's a council meeting, which Les Schultz gets to run. I hope it's 200 and some pages again. And I wouldn't recommend changing these dates because I think we need to get this budget up and running and get
Yep.
going on it.
Yep.
And if we push it off to August, I know Lisa probably missed the first meeting in August, which she usually does. So I would just suggest leaving it as is.
Well, there's also a work session in August too, on the 21st.
Right,
Yep.
that one I'll be okay, just this one I won't. So,
Maybe a suggestion that if there's any, we should let you know or Brian know if there's any dates we can't make. So if there's 2 or 3 of us that can't make something, that we'll need to change some of these dates potentially if there's a conflict. We could do that the next, you want to send us a
Soon, yeah, the
reminder?
sooner the
or-
better, but.
Yeah.
mm.
I mean, they look good to me, but you never know once you start looking at vacations or other things going on, work stuff. I
Okay.
would say in the next 2 weeks, we let you know, within the next 2 weeks, we let you know if there's a conflict.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. So we need a motion on that. I'll offer that
Yes.
motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5E, consider a motion approving the New Ulm Economic Development Authority amended bylaws. Brian?
Yes, the New Ulm Economic Development Authority reviewed their bylaws, and we've tried to bring them up to today's language, wording. We've modified a couple of actions. The EDA has reviewed it and approved the amended bylaws, and the next step would be for the city council to approve. And then they would go into effect.
Yeah, as a member of the EDA, there was really no questions or concerns from the EDA group, so I'm going to offer the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5F, consider a resolution declaring the official intent of the City of New Ulm to reimburse expenditures with the proceeds from sales tax bond series 2018. Tom?
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. Counselors, you have before you a request to adopt a resolution and waive the reading, declaring our intent to sell sales tax bonds and reimburse ourselves for expenses up to 60 days prior to bond sale. As an attachment, you have the latest snapshot of a proposed timeline planning tool. And this is kind of the first step. We also have a second action in the addendum related to renew. But this is the reimbursement resolution, which is similar to the reimbursement resolutions you do annually for the GO bonding.
Yeah, this is just a standard operation as far as when we incur expenses, we can come back and capture these. As Mr. Schmidt stated, we do the same resolution for our street projects every year, just in case, we start incurring cost and the bond issue comes, second. And we actually expect this to happen with the renew projects, probably about the same time, same sort of timeline, although getting the addendum approved and looking at that process and getting the committees up and running might take a little bit, more time. So it might actually coincide with the bond issue, but we're just playing it safe, making sure that we've got the ability to recapture those expenses with the bond issue.
We aren't setting a dollar value, we're just agreeing that we're gonna
Yep.
do this.
Dollar value will come back later.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, if we decided that we, let's say the baseball, Johnson Park, if that's number one and we want to really get going on that, that committee that's going to oversee that might say, let's get an engineer and let's get cooking on this thing. And so any expenses incurred before we sell the bond issue would be eligible to be repaid by the bond issue.
Okay.
It may not work out that way, or it may work out that way. We won't know.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Being that the Park and Rec Commission unanimously recommended approval for the proposal, I'll motion to adopt a resolution, waive the reading to declare official intent of the City of New Ulm to reimburse local option sales tax, renew project expenditures with proceeds of sales tax bonds, Series 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item, excuse me. Item 5G, consider a motion to set a date for public hearing on the 2018 surface reconstruction project by the Street Department for Tuesday, May 15, 2018 at 4:30 p.m.
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5H, consider a motion to approve a professional service agreement with Brown Intertech to provide material testing services for the 2018 MSAS improvement project.
Mr. President, this has to do with the war of contract that you did early, that you took care of earlier on the agenda. German Street is a state aid segment from 3rd to 7th North in the city. Therefore, we're allowed to use some of our state aid funding, which is derived through gas tax and a few other revenue sources. Because of that, we're required to perform some additional materials testing that requires basically a consultant that does this type of work on a regular basis. We've got a service agreement contract before you that I've reviewed with regard to the materials testing requirements, and I'm fine with that. In addition, the city attorney reviewed the contract with regard to the general conditions and that type of information. And he has brought forth a couple of concerns to me with regard to some paragraph language, and he may want to speak to that, but I guess my recommendation would be to, if you're so inclined, to approve this contract subject to the revisions that meet with his approval, and I think we'll be able to take care of that.
Thank you.
Mr. President, just
Yes.
in a nutshell, my concerns were not with the substance of it, which I'm assuming, that Steve and Joe have worked out. It's kind of set up in letter format, but that's adequate. It's the boilerplate that's attached to it, two provisions. One, which basically says if somehow we would breach this by not paying it, they get their attorney's fees, but it doesn't say anything about what happens if they breach it. I think that should be mutual. The other thing is there's a provision in here that reduces the statute of limitations from as long as 6 years to 1 year. requires us to do things that we're not obligated to do under state law. I got the information on their contact people, was able to call them. They were going to run it by their legal department. I'm hoping I can talk some more with them tomorrow. We get this ironed out, because I know it's important that this get put into place as soon as possible. So if you were to agree to approve this, subject to the conditions of our office working out those details, I'd strongly recommend that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move it with those conditions.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. 5I, consider a resolution approving the transfer and advance funds from the general fund and the city revolving loan fund to the city center apartments, residential 9, TFF fund number 392, or 329, I'm sorry. Nicole?
President, councilors, this is, like it says, related to the city center apartment project and some remediation we had to do on the site. We knew we were going to incur costs, and also that there was a grant available, which we got to cover a large portion of the costs. But the TIF fund has to pay for these costs up right now, and until there's any TIF revenue coming in, the general fund needs to transfer those funds in there. We can't leave a TIF fund negative for the year. So the request is just to make the transfer for now. A large portion of the transfer will come right back again in January of 18 when we got the funds. And then there might be possibility for future, depending on any other additional costs.
Thank you. Any questions for Nicole? Be self-explanatory. We have in front of us here what the costs were.
So the dollar amount is $43,620.
That's the part that will not be reimbursed. That's the portion that the general fund will pay regardless. It won't be reimbursed by TIF funds or anything in the future.
All right.
Yeah, probably just to highlight it, that the grant that we received from the state is $227,000. And that required a matching amount of $75,000, 952, okay? Or said another way, $75,952. And there was a cost overrun on the project. It was unanticipated, but once you get in and start digging up the soils that need to be removed, you have to continue on until it's finished. And I believe Mr. Snowbrick, we can, tell
Let's
us
talk about it. I want to know
the attempts to maybe go to back to the state and get more grant money to cover that. So,
yeah, that's the next item on the agenda. I would note that this matter was discussed with the city's auditor when they were here recently, and this is the course of action that they recommended that we take.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions, concerns? Otherwise entertain a resolution.
Well, I'll offer the resolution, waive the reading, approving the transfer and advance of funds from the general fund 101 and the city revolving loan fund, Fund 250, to the city center apartments R-9 TIF fund, Fund 329.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5J, consider a resolution authorizing the City of New Ulm to apply for a grant from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development to pay for the costs associated with the mediation yeah, of the city center apartment site, and to retain the firm of Brown Intertech to assist with the preparation of the grant application to provide other project services.
Dave Schnobert, Community Development Director. Last December, we advised the council that we had experienced some cost overruns with the removal of contaminated soils at the city center apartment site. The cost overrun in conjunction with other required activities that we're obligated to undertake is approximately $100,000. Last December, we recommended that we look at applying for what is called a supplemental grant to pay for a portion of those costs. If we are successful, the supplemental grant would pay for 75% of the cost. We would have to pay the remaining 25%. So the application is due on May 1st. The second part of the requested action with regards to this item is to retain the firm of Braun Intertech to provide some services in the preparation of the application. This is a not-to-exceed cost of $3,000. We currently have a contract with them for consulting services of $40,000. To date, we've only expended $30,000. So what we would propose is that we would amend the existing contract that we have with them and identify these additional services that they would provide and the cost associated with that. If we're successful in securing the grant, then we would expend an additional $3,000 on the implementation of some of the activities. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion for the resolution?
I'll offer a resolution, waive the reading to apply for the grant from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, DEED, to pay for costs associated with remediation of the city center apartment site and to retain the firm Braun Intertech to assist in preparation of the grant application and provide other project services.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Finance Director, please call the roll.
Counselor Mack?
Yes.
Counselor Schultz?
Yes.
Counselor Christian?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5K, consider a motion authorizing the purchase of two 2018 Ford Interceptors sport utility vehicles, all-wheel drive from Ford of Hibbing in the amount of $60,340.90.
I'll offer the motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just have one question. I know just for the general public, when we replace our squads, what is considered high mileage? I don't know if you can answer from there, and I could repeat it if you want, but I know they get pretty rough use and wear and tear, but what is considered high mileage?
President Schmitz, members of the council, Commander Dave Borker, the Allen Police Department. Generally, we try to be in where we rotate them every 2 years, and they exceed 100,000 miles, and they're pretty hard miles.
Right. Yep.
We have 4 primary squad cars, and we have 17 officers that are on a rotating shift. One, the K-9 officer, Officer Byro, has his own squad car assigned to him because of those responsibilities with the K-9. But the rest of them basically are four-person groups. So the sergeants have one squad, corporals have one that are primarily assigned to them, and then the other 2 rotations as well. The patrol officers have a squad assigned to them, and so they're going 24/7 and 365 days a year, and they're used pretty hard that way. I mean, they're pretty careful with that resource, and they certainly don't drive faster or carelessly or anything like that, but they're just simply because they're used constantly. They're never sitting in a driveway overnight because they're, take-home squad car.
Right.
So right around 100,000 miles.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
That's a lot of hours, by the way.
It is. It's a lot of hours. They're constantly going.
Mhm.
The 2 that we're rotating out right now would be Squad 2, which would be assigned to the corporals, and then Squad 3, which is assigned to the upper patrol unit. So, like, for example, Squad 2 right now has 99,734. Squad 3 has 65,536, but by the time we actually rotate these in, they'll both be well over 100,000.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll go on to addendum.
I'll offer a motion to suspend the rules to take action on the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. The addendum is new business. Consider the timeline proposed for the design, bidding, and construction of the financing of the Renew projects and create a Renew Oversight Committee and respective project okay. Bad night.
Long night.
Specific revenue subcommittees. Tom.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Department. President Schmitz and councilors, you have before you a request to approve a proposed timeline that you have attached in the packet, and to allow us to create two committees, an oversight committee and specific project subcommittees for the 7 Renew projects. You have a lot of information here in the overview with the discussion about the Oversight Committee and the subcommittees. Park and Recreation Commission has previously unanimously recommended that you proceed with this action. And what this step basically is allowing us to begin to hire experts to help us design and plan out these various projects. You know, there will be many actions coming back before the council in the future on specific approving plans and specifications and, authorizing advertisement for bids and awarding projects. And this is going to go on for a few years.
Tom, can you put this on the overhead? I'm starting to get questions, as we probably all are, from our constituents on what are we doing and when are we going to get going on this, and just walk us through at least the first couple of projects so people know what's coming up and when are we going to get going on some of these things. Maybe walk us through the first Johnson Park and the Rec Center, so if you would, please.
Certainly. Certainly, as you can see in the columns to the left, the vertical columns list the projects. And then we've got some preliminary estimated costs for those projects. Blue is the design phase, proposed design phase. Yellow is proposed bid phase. And red, of course, construction. Down below horizontally, you can see a proposed 3 different bond sales, including the first one beginning this summer, approximately June or July of 18. Second bond sale, June or July of 19, and a third bond sale in June or July of 20. I think we understand some of the finances as far as the street projects are going to take about $3 million this year. The Public Utilities Commission is not planning to bond this year. We want to try to keep annual municipal bonding at $10 million or less to get the best interest rates. So that allows up to possibly $7 million of sales tax bonds this year. Next year, the PUC plans to bond for almost $4 million, and the city normally does $3 million, so that's a 7 total, allowing the possibility of no more than $3 million next year in sales tax bonds. And out in 2020, we're projecting the possibility of up to $7 million. The grand total we know is 14.8 legislatively authorized. This proposed cost estimate has a contingency down there in the left side. There's a red number, necessary cuts. If that $373,098 were red, we would be over budget. But our preliminary cost estimates are showing, $373 that we have not projected to spend on the 7 projects.
So how I read this, Tom, is we're going to start designing not only Johnson Park, the Rec Center expansion, the aquatic Park, the water park, the Herman Heights entrance and parking area, all basically at the same time, starting very soon here in April and May. So all 4 of those main projects are going to start designing now. The construction for just the Johnson Park starts first, and how I read this would start in September, if everything goes right, and we all.
Correct.
Construction for the rec center would start in April of next year, if, again, everything works out correctly. Construction for the aquatic park would start on or about July of 19, August of 19. At this point, the dome project is still on hold, and we're just, because we're waiting to see how much is going to be spent on the other projects, right? Would that be a fair statement?
Well, I will add that we're going to be doing some preliminary conceptual and estimating on the dome project.
so
We're not
some-
going to create construction documents. These other 6 projects were prepared to begin actual construction documents. The dome, we're continuing to work on conceptual possibilities.
Councilor Schultz, the overriding control is our financing.
Yes.
We can only do so much every year based on our bonding. So if we were to do everything all in the first year, or the first 18 months, we aren't going to bond for that much money. So some things have to be later in the year, and some things can be earlier. The other thing I just want to point out is this is merely a guess.
Yep.
It's a concept. On the gymnastics, if we all of a sudden get into our testing of soils and find out that that is just a really bad place, we may have to, go back to the drawing board and figure out what that's going to cost, et cetera. That could push that further down the road.
Correct.
So there's nothing guaranteed about these start dates. These are just some estimates, hopefully educated estimates based upon Tom's staff knowing what construction, could be. So you'll notice there's some white space in between the second and third projects and the fourth project. That's to give some flexibility, because you don't know if things are going to start right then or
Right.
2 months later. So
And I know we're kind of early in the phase here, but something that I'd like us to be thinking about is either having an update at the first or second council meeting every month, so we all know where things are going. We can let the public know at this time what's going on with our projects. I'm not sure who would make that report, if that'd be Brian, or we'd have another assigned city staff member to give us. Maybe it'd be a good job for the new assistant, who knows? But somebody that gives us an update on what's going on with all our projects, so the general public knows. And I know we'd probably want something on the website for those that want to click in and see where we're going on the projects. And if there's building designs that they're getting uploaded, and people want to see, they want to know what's going on. They voted for this, they want this, and I think they have a right to kind of see what we're doing as we move forward on these projects. And
you don't have any issues with that. Basically, there'll be a handoff. Once the city council, looks at all these park and rec programs, and once they get authorized to start, implementing, then it'll get handed off to the administrative side, of which obviously Park and Rec will be there in support role. And that's kind of reflected in the oversight committee and also the subcommittees, is that Park and Rec is always there.
Yep.
There's always a representative there. And we tried to put the citizens that use those facilities on those subcommittees so that they would have, some direct input. Tried to make it so it actually had, 1 to 2 citizen participants, so that the citizens have an opportunity to participate in this whole design phase too. After design, and it goes to bidding, then the committees basically fall off, because then it becomes an actual construction project, of which then city staff oversees, directly. And you're correct. In 2003, 2002, when we started the last sales tax projects, construction, those were the activities that the assistant city manager monitored, the operations, the requests for payments, change orders, all of that stuff was run through that office.
Mr. President, if I could just, I'm involved in this, of course, to a greater or lesser extent, depending upon the issues as they arise. I generally agree with Tom. It's a good idea, I think, to have some sort of timeline put in place so that everyone involved understands the priorities. Having a management committee makes sense, an oversight committee. But in looking at the authorized projects, I understand the timeline, the emphasis with the state tournament coming up with Johnson Park. Beyond that, we've got some pretty open-ended authorizations as far as what we can use the tax income for. One of the projects, the gymnastics facility, from what, and I've not been intimately involved in any planning, but I know this is all kind of going towards the recreational center. Unlike every other project of the 6 that I counted, that's one that I would think to some extent depends upon the income, because it's being built for a very specific set of users. And at this point, there are 3 of them, organizations. And I think that at least the city council should know what are the costs going to be of maintaining this building, and what are these users going to be willing to pay? Because there's a need for this, but I think the council needs to know, are we going to have to subsidize this and how much? And are you willing to commit for decades into the future to doing that? Because that would affect whether or not you want to proceed with that or when you want to proceed with it. And I don't know if that's tied in with the other rec projects, what effect that has. But in looking, I'm also not sure from the item if you're actually going to be appointing committees tonight, or if that's going to be done at some future date, or how that's going to go. I think I would like to be involved in at least the early meetings of the subcommittee on the gymnastics facility, because I think we need to work that out up front before we put a lot of time and energy into, getting the plans and specs and the design. And that could affect the rest of the rec projects. So I think, yes, we need to get this organized. We need to do these things, in some sort of timeline, but a lot of this stuff is interdependent. Same thing with the dome. Initially, that was, I think, a project with District 88. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. It absolutely might, but it might not. If it doesn't, what are our other options? Same thing, who's going to use it? How is it going to get paid for? What are those costs going to be? All those things are matters that, will have to be brought before you. So just making those general comments, and again, I'm not sure with the nature of the way the motion was drafted, how far you're going. If you're moving to create an oversight committee and 6 specific subcommittees, how are people going to be selected to go on those?
Well, I think tonight what we should do is pick the oversight committee, which is pretty simple. And then from that point, have them come back to us with the subcommittees of which what we need and an idea of who should be on it, rather than try to do it tonight. And Lisa Fisher did call me. She isn't here tonight, but she volunteered. She would be willing to serve as a council representative on the oversight committee, so it's up to the rest of the council. But I think we really need to get that one so we can get the whole projects off the ground and get going. Because we don't want to waste a lot of time, because I know Johnson Field has got a high priority and we know it's going to go and it shows it's going to go, so we should just get moving. So.
What are we thinking for a number on that oversight committee?
2.
Well, he had
2, it
recommended
says 2 city council people.
2 city council reps. All right.
And then the rest of them are kind of spelled out, which you definitely have the city manager, city attorney, and park and rec director, and so on and so forth. So I think it's pretty well laid out, the people we need to have on it,
Yeah.
at least to get going.
Have any Park and Rec commissioners expressed interest? If you'd be appointing two of them, or?
In response to the city attorney, that's one question I did ask at the Park and Rec meeting. It was kind of preliminary. We did have one baseball rep there who came up to the mic and spoke. After going through this again, I agree with Mr. Hippert. I think we just do the oversight committee and we'll come back here.
Yeah.
Because you're leaving an open ticket for any baseball VFW member or whatnot. Come back with that list and then approve it.
And maybe the public will hear about it and we'll get some calls or whatever, and people that are willing to serve on the different subcommittees as the time goes forward.
Well, and there were some pretty active groups early on with some of
Right.
the stuff that might want to step back up, and anybody else want to be involved?
I would be involved with the oversight committee. I was on the,
If you want to take it, that's fine.
I'm willing.
So I would.
Want me to stab at it or you want
Take me
to?
a stab at it, or go ahead.
Okay, well, with that being said, at this time, motion to approve the timeline proposed for the design, bidding, construction, and financing of the Renew projects and the creation of the Renew Oversight Committee, including Counselor Fisher and Counselor Mack. And that's it
That's it.
for right now.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. No more business. Meeting adjourned.